Right, so I promised something weird at the start, didn't I? But that's not the case. But I thought I'd just go with a theme for today's podcast, which is hanging. Because Ben's left us hanging, and Harvey's here hanging.
He is.
Yeah, so boys, welcome back to the 7th edition of the Non-League podcast, hosted by me, Jake Adams, joined by, at the moment, James Noble and Harvey Hinkler. Boys, welcome.
Alright, hello.
And thought we'd just dive straight into what was a very weird event at the weekend in the National League. I'll just get it up quickly. We'll go on the fixtures here. All the top sides just didn't want to do well. Start on the Saturday. See, Fylde lost to Chesterfield. We've got Gateshead winning, which I suppose good for them.
But I'll be happy.
Yeah, he'll be ecstatic. So as we get further down, obviously Wrexham won, which is good for them. But Leyton Orient lost to Maidenhead. Disgusting result for them. Salford continued their bad form to Dover, losing 3-1
in front of David
at
Beckham.
home. Oh no. And Solihull, who were bigged up last week, drew to Barnet, who we absolutely just said some horrible words about last week.
In fairness, they were 2-0 down. They came back.
Still though, I'll get onto my
They
frustrations.
had the extra man, but
I'll get onto my frustrations about Solihull soon.
Ooh.
And then Sutton, a team which I tipped for promotion last week, I've shot them in the foot really because they lost the barrow of all teams. So Harvey, just going on to you, talking a lot over different editions of the podcast about Leyton Orient and Salford. What is up with them at the moment with these kind of stuttering form they've got going on?
I think I'm done predicting who's going up from the National League, if I'm honest, because every team that I seem to big up fails me. Because last week I was like, Leyton Orient and Fylde are the ones to watch. Yep, they're going to smash it. Both lost at home to teams in the relegation area, around the relegation zone. So I'm going to stop bigging teams up because I feel like I put a curse on them. But it's with Leyton Orient and Salford, it's the two teams we discuss if I can speak, discuss most on the podcast,
Yeah.
and that might frustrate some people, but I think they're the two name teams in the division at the moment. I think it's fair to say.
I'd agree.
And you've already, like Salford with all the backroom stuff and the money, and there's always a lot of controversy surrounding them. And with such a hot start that they made, seeing losing 3-1 at home to Dover when they took the lead it's very poor. And I don't know what Graham Alexander's got to do to get a grip of his team and push them forward.
I suppose to quote Troy Dean, he's got to grab them by the cojones.
Yeah, he's got
Very
something's got to be done at Salford, and maybe it's the youth side of it. I'm not sure. Leyton Orient, I still think there's still a lot to come from Leyton Orient. I think.
Yeah.
Like re-signing Jay Simpson is a
Mhm.
big move for them. Macaulay Bond's still banging him in.
Yeah, because it's just like you've said there. I think they've got so much attacking talent that it's quite hard to see them not go up, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, it's because even if they don't get that top spot, then the playoffs, you'd think they're the strongest team in that contingent.
Yeah.
And I think it might just be a blip, but we'll have to wait and see. It's the top of the league in the National League this season. I think we've picked the best season to start a National League pod because it's just
It was the
amusement.
wackiest season.
If
to
we
start.
look back like at the end of the season and we're like, oh yeah, Salford and Leyton Orient, they're gonna cruise it, and then just the amount that's gone on.
Yeah, there's
we
tons
can't
going
keep-
on
I don't
both
think
ends
anyone-
of the table.
I don't think anyone can keep up, and no one can pin down why it's been like this. I think every team in the league has failed to find consistency this season.
Yeah, wait, I agree with your points there. James, just to bring you in, obviously last week we're bigging up Solihull Moors, who were top last time around. Obviously, of course, drawn to Barnet, a side who, like I've said, a side which we didn't really talk well about at all last week. What do you make of this draw? Obviously, we've talked about sides kind of not getting a good run of form at the top recently. I'll get on to Wrexham soon, but what's your opinions on Solihull Moors' draw to Barnet at the weekend?
Well, I think it's just, I don't know, it is just very, very unpredictable in so many ways. I'm basically going to sort of just repeat what Harvey said here. But yeah, I mean, you look at it and there's really kind of not much predicting kind of what's happening week by week. and it is just sort of it makes it more exciting, but and I think again it reflects sort of the depth of quality in the league in terms of teams do seem to be quite evenly matched, but also it's sort of it is becoming quite a nausea-inducing roller coaster ride for any of the fans, sort of the sides up there. I can imagine because it's so unpredictable. Like, you can think your team's kind of hitting a run of form or is now the one to beat, and then draw, drop points, lose, whatever. So I mean they've obviously sort of got a late equaliser at least, which probably makes it feel like a better result than it would have been had it been the other way round or whatever. So that reflects sort of what Solihull Moors have shown a lot this season, which is kind of character and generally sort of a determination to either punch above their weight or at the very least get the absolute most out of any situation that they can. But they'll just be frustrated, I suppose, that they haven't sort of capitalised on another chance to get 3 points basically. But it all just contributes more to the excitement really when you know there's no sort of bankers results wise.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly right there, hit the nail on the head. Boys, I'm sure you'd agree, Wrexham is a team which we've overlooked, I think, especially last week. Because as soon as we talk about teams at the top, Wrexham's got to be in that conversation. And they've went and kind of proved that point right at the weekend, winning 3-2 away to... Who did they win to? 3-2 to Haven and Waterville. James, just go back to you. Just what do you make of Wrexham's kind of quiet? Because I suppose it's not us overlooking it. I do think they are creeping under the radar a bit with like the kind of more high-profile stories being Salford and Lane Orient dropping points out like left, right, and centre. So what do you make of Wrexham's chances of promotion?
Well, that's probably something that will help them, because they do sort of they're not being obviously ignored by any means, but yeah, there's maybe not quite as much attention on them as there is with some other sides. So there's not the same degree of, put simply, pressure probably.
Yeah.
So they'll probably feel like sort of it's maybe slightly easier for them to sort of go about their business compared to the likes of Salford, the likes of Leyton Orient. And if they do have a poor result, whether it be a draw or a defeat, then they might not get the spotlight sort of shone on them to quite the same degree that those other teams would do. So I think that's something that should count in their favour really, if they can maintain this form. I suppose the one thing you could say is if they do, the more they maintain the form, the sort of less easy it will be to sort of go under the radar. But yeah, I think when you consider the status that some of the other clubs have for various reasons in and around them, it should be something that helps them when they're not so sort of, when there aren't so many eyes on them.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're right there, because right, if the eyes that aren't on them, it seems like everyone's focused on Salford, Leyton Orient, and I suppose rightfully so, because they're the big spenders and whatnot. But boys, just ask you both a question. Well, I think over the weeks there's always a team which we always praise, and then after we've talked about them in the fixtures following, they tend to go on a bad like run a form, with Salford, for example, Solihull drawing at the weekend. So how many games are we giving it now until Wrexham end up just going off the rails, Harvey?
What do you put me on the spot there?
A quick number. Give me a quick number. How many more games are they going to keep us up before the curse of us catches up with them?
Well, I know we do possess a big curse when it comes to sending teams down a spiral of unfortunate events. But I'm just going to have a look at their fixtures coming up to see how long that's going to take. Because even though games against teams at the bottom of the table hasn't stopped teams from going off the rails recently, especially this weekend.
It has not.
I mean, they've got a fairly tough run coming up.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Away at Gateshead on Saturday, they're unbeaten under Ben Clark. Chesterfield coming into a run of form, which I'm sure we'll discuss later. Orient, Barrett, I don't think it'll take long, because Wrexham they went missing for a bit around Christmas.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think
over the winter period they have gone missing, and yeah, they've clawed their way back to top now, and all credit to them. But it's in a league like this where anyone can beat anyone. It's so hard to maintain a good run of form and remain consistent, because I liken the National League and the Championship quite parallel this season. It's a case, because everyone talks, like, we switch on Sky and talk about Championship. The phrase that's always used is anyone can beat anyone.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And I think it's the exact same for the National League. Like Dover, like they've been struggling all season. Went away to high flying promotion chasing Salford and won convincingly.
Yeah, it tends to be how it is in this league.
So
anyone can beat anyone.
I can not see any team putting a massive consistent run of form together for the rest of this season.
Yeah, and just
so
to go,
Wrexham's just one of them.
And just go on a bit of a side note, that I don't advocate betting. You know, as soon as the fun stops, stop. But I had a friendly little accumulator on at the weekend, and granted, it was already ruined by my lack of knowledge of League 2 teams. But I'd just like to highlight my hatred towards Solihull Moors. Who, like, I put them like first team on my accumulator. I was like, they're a cert to win. You know, we've picked them up loads. Home side, the Barnet of all teams, so of course they're gonna win. And they didn't. So Solihull's on the banned list along with Aston Villa and Ajax.
Oh, I'd never put Aston Villa on an Ajax.
I've learned from that, but let's not talk about that because I might get a bit upset. Just to go on a bit of a side note, Ben's messaging. What's he saying?
He's saying he's missed the Metro, but he's ran for it.
He's ran for it.
He has.
The drama
that means
continues.
nothing.
But so these are the messages that have been sent into the non-league podcast group chat. It's a very eventful group chat, as you can imagine. He's saying, let us know when you've started, so we've let him know. Just missed the Metro. I ran, but to no avail. Always a wordsmith.
That was beautifully put.
It was
a
tragic story of a boy and a train.
A fallen...
Quite like his appearance on
Fallen, yeah, exactly, like a fallen star, basically, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
But just to move on now, a bit further down the table.
Very smooth link, that.
If he gets here, he gets here.
Indeed.
So, boys, just to move on further down the table to a side which is creeping up on some good form recently. I'm not saying that they're going to get promoted, far from it, to be fair. But this side is Chesterfield. 7 games unbeaten in the league at the moment, granted 4 draws. But it's quite a turn up for the Bucks, really, especially when you see the form compared to the teams around them. Like, it's greens and then the darks are the draws, but compared to all the reds around them. Harvey, what's up with Chesterfield at the moment?
John Sheridan. They've appointed a manager that knows what he's doing. They appointed a really good manager. Like, we talked about Martin Allen probably falling off the rails a bit a few weeks ago. It was a long time ago we talked about it. When he said the infamous quote of, I came here to win games, and it was, you've lost your last 6. And he went, I don't piss about, I came here to win games.
Yeah.
That was his quote, that was his words.
Exact words.
But now they've got John Sheridan in. Very, very good appointment. He's the highest paid manager in both the National League and League 2, so they're showing they're not afraid to spend a bit of money to get success, or not even success. It's not even success at this point, it's to stay up. To maintain, because he's been around the block. Yes. As John Sheridan, and I think he's a good player to come in with a young team as well, to inspire the players to push on. You've got Lawrence Maguire coming back to fitness at centre half. Not centre half, sorry, he's not Harry.
He's not quite Harry, no.
But no, he's quite versatile actually, Lawrence Maguire. But you've got key players coming back to fitness, a new manager, fresh ideas, and I think they're starting to enjoy playing football. Yeah. Because I think last season, even though it wasn't necessarily like Alan's fault that Chesterfield went down last season, he joined a sinking ship. But it's still, the stench lingers of the relegation season, where it's not necessarily his fault, but you still want to clear it and you want a fresh start.
No, I'd agree.
And they didn't do that at the start of the season, and you could tell the morale was down at the start of the season just from that, and because nothing had changed, there was no fresh optimism. Like Sunderland this season, was it necessarily Chris Coleman's fault that they went down? It's up for debate, and a lot of people said they got rid of him, and yet they're not doing the greatest now, but they're doing better with Jack Ross because they've got fresh ideas, bringing in fresh players that he wants at the club. And I can see the same happening with Chesterfield when Sheridan gets a proper summer to build a squad that he wants. But I think I see Chesterfield staying up now. Like, only Braintree have lost more games than Chesterfield this season, which is worrying for them. But I see Sheridan doing good things with Chesterfield. I would not be surprised to see them make a playoff push next season.
Yeah, no, I think that I totally agree with that. Like, the side, just echo your thoughts. They are enjoying their football at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
It's evident in their results and just the kind of free flowing manner that they played in. James, just to move on to you. Of course, Harvey mentioned that the a side which maybe after a full summer of a good kind of transfer window for them, the side which could maybe push on for promotion next year. But obviously, in January, they made a few signings. I think the most notable one would say was Borden from Gateshead. What do you think the impact of these signings have had on their recent form? Do you think it's had any, or do you think it's just a coincidence?
I think signings always do, because I mean they sharpen up the squad if nothing else, because it means more competition for places. It means you're adding different elements. So I mean it's never easy to tell, I suppose, because you can factor fixtures into the equation and say had a more favourable run or whatever. But I think you could probably it would be logical to say they have had a positive impact because of different elements that they can bring in, different qualities, and also just it gives the dressing room sort of a positive shot in the arm normally, because sort of it's something fresh, something new. Players sort of in the relevant positions start thinking my place might not be guaranteed to quite the same extent as it was a few weeks back. So I think yes, but I guess you can never really tell unless you're within the camp. But generally, I think it tends to have a positive impact unless they're really disruptive influence. Whatever.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Kind of the fresh faces brings that kind of competition for places, especially this level of football and where they are in the league. It kind of adds that extra fire to their push to get out of the relegation spaces. Harvey, we've touched on this before with them. They're a side who like to draw a game, 15 to be exact, this season. Just what are these draws having an effect? Because I can't tell whether it's hindering them getting further up the table. Obviously, they're winning a lot more recently, but they've only won 7 games this season. And I feel like if they could have turned about 5-6 of those draws into wins, they'd be much higher up the table. So do you think those draws have hindered their chances of getting further up the table, or is it a sign that they're just getting out of
because you need to
losses?
I'm confident that they won't get relegated this season, but for a long time it looked very possible.
Yeah.
You need to win games to stay up. It's as simple as that. And drawing games, I think it can leave a bit of uncertainty in the players' minds, and frustration, because half of it's where if you're drawing too many games, you question if you're capable to get over the line, and then you start to question yourself, you start to doubt yourself, and the manager can't motivate, and that feeds into the players' heads. But then on the other side of it, there's also the possibility of the players are frustrated because they know they can get over the line, they just can't seem to be doing it at the minute, and then they go into games and they're frustrated and they lose because they're not playing with the head screwed on properly.
Right. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Obviously, it's kind of about discipline as well in those situations. You can't kind of get bogged down with draws being an issue. I don't really think it is.
Luck plays into it as well, I suppose. In some games,
I've got a bit of a quirky question. What's more likely to happen? Ben turning up for this podcast at all, or Chesterfield drawing another 7 games this season?
How many have they got left? They play 32, so
14 games.
Yeah, 14 games.
Draws 1 every 2 games.
Drawing half of them.
You think that's more likely?
I think it's more likely than Ben making this podcast.
Definitely.
Yeah, 100%.
James.
Where's Ben coming from again? Is it Gateshead?
He's been in. To be fair, he's not just skiving. He has done an interview with Steve Rigg today, the Gateshead striker who bagged a brace at the weekend. So he is doing actual journalism.
He's got more than logistics.
Yeah, he's sat talking to an actual footballer instead of 3 hacks talking about non-league.
It's especially when like one third of us, I'm not going to say who, is an absolute waffler, but it might be me. Just to move on though.
I'm making no guesses.
Yeah.
No, me neither.
On to the next part of this podcast for this week. Boys, I've asked you to come up with a game of the week. Could you just give me a little rundown, James, to start with you, of your game of the week?
Game of the week. I just want to make sure, sort of in non-audible format, that I'm not nicking anyone else's here. I'm going to go Salford Dover, which finished 3-1 to Dover at Salford, which I believe, was it this game that involved a goal from
The David Beckham-esque strike
Indeed.
when he was in the stand.
With David Beckham in attendance, and we were talking about how these goals seem to follow him around because he was there when Rooney scored that volley from about 50 yards at just got a frog out in my throat at Upton Park from about, I think it's 2014. So they do seem to follow him round that after that Wimbledon goal from a few years back, and he also scored one in the MLS, I think, didn't he? And,
yeah, he did. Yeah.
So for that goal, and also just obviously the surprise nature of the result, but it's kind of getting to the stage now where, on paper, yes, it is a surprise, but in sort of theory, it's almost not a huge shock. It's kind of just sort of
in a league where anyone can beat anyone, it's hard to call any results surprises or shocks.
That's the thing. It's just it's another one that sort of presses home the notion that no one, again, there are no bankers, and even with Salford going in front, like so often you look at it and you think, okay, they've got in front, they'll probably go on, see out the game now, but Dover got themselves back into it and went on to win the game, looking at it relatively comfortably, just judging by sort of the timing of the goals and stuff. So Salford 1, Dover 3.
Yeah, I think we'd all agree Beckham does tend to bag worldies. James, that probably is great for probably my game of the week as well. It's a great choice, obviously, and probably the highlight angle from the weekend fixtures, judging on how big of an upset it was. Even with Salford being on the form that round, still a massive upset. Harvey, moving on to you. What's your game of the week? Wow me.
It was from this Tuesday night, just 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Fylde bounced back from their disappointing loss to Chesterfield with a 6-2 win at home to Havant and Waterlooville. It was a thumping. They were 1-0 down after an early Matt Patterson penalty, but quickly came back into it. It was 2-1 at half time, so the second half had some firepower. Jordan Tunnicliffe bagging a brace. He put them in front initially, and then it sort of just piled on from there. I don't know what was said to Fylde at half time, or I don't know if Havant and Waterlooville just went to sleep at half time, but they received a good old tonking in the second half with goals from Daniel Lucas-Rowe, Tunnicliffe again getting his second, Tom Crawford, and finally Ashley Hemmings after Alfie Rilliford had pulled one back for Havant and Waterlooville. But yeah, a good win leaves Fylde 5 points off the top, which very respectable position for Fylde at the minute. I'm sure they'll be happy with where they are. They think they could have done better at the weekend against Chesterfield, but there's no better way to bounce back than with a thrashing of anyone, really. But one thing I do want to draw attention to, this might have been the week that we had a bit of a hiatus because of booking errors.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But how did we miss this? Rams bottom 5, Fylde 5 in the FA Trophy. How did we miss this? That's unreal.
Speechless to that, really.
How did we miss that? I have no words, because I was just looking at the Fylde results. I knew that they were going to be my game of the week, so I was like, right, let's just get it up.
Huge fan of Fylde as well, aren't you, Harvey?
Yeah, I'm a big advocate of Fylde. And I was just like, right, let's have a look. And I just come across Rams bottom 5, Fylde 5. What world are we living in?
Oh, yeah.
Where scores like that are acceptable?
Villa, Nottingham Forest, eat your heart out.
I know.
Yeah,
it's unreal.
I'm more of a fan of a good defensive masterclass personally, rather than a goal.
You'll have a Liverpool 0, Bayern 0.
Can you imagine? Simeone would have a meltdown looking at that game.
I'd much rather be in pub watching that.
Yeah.
Ramsbottom 5, File 5. Imagine that with a packed end. Packed cop end, 5-all. Oh.
Yeah, Harvey, just a quick question. And James, I'll pass on to you as well. Filed a team who you bigged up last week as a tip to get promoted. Is that something that you still agree on?
I don't want to look like a coward, so yeah, I'm going to stick by it.
Okay.
I'm going to say Filed are the surprise package. They're going to go up through. They won't win the league, they'll go up through the playoffs.
Yeah.
They're going to shock some people. They're going to blow all the others out the water. Salford, forget it. Filed are the team that's going on. If they do go up, I'll buy a Filed shirt.
You buy a Filed shirt, that's
I'm
good.
saying it now. I will. If they
James,
go up.
James, just going to you. Is Filed a team that maybe potentially you're changing your mind on who's going to get promoted? Do you think they'll be promoted at the end?
By the way, that doesn't sound like much of a thing, me buying a Filed shirt, but if you saw my financial status, you know that's a risk.
Well, mind you, they're cheaper at the end of the season normally, aren't
True,
they? So
very true.
That,
We've got an
that's
update as well.
wise.
Ben's on the metro.
Oh,
He's still
He
going to
is.
miss it.
How long have we been going?
I'll just quickly check. James, keep talking. I'll just check. 26
so
minutes.
filed.
Nah, he's not gonna make it.
Yeah, I think. I mean, you kind of can't help but sort of like them purely because of them, the high scoring nature of their matches and pulling out 5-5, which you don't see very often at all. I mean, they seem to. They've obviously got goals in them. They obviously don't have any trouble on that front, which sort of, again, not groundbreaking analysis, but if you're able to score goals and you're not sort of goal shy, and you've got players who get into sort of the 10s, the 20s over the course of a season, or even 30s, then you're generally in pretty good nick. I can't actually remember either of you remember which team, because I think we all backed a team last week, didn't we? But
Yeah, we did.
I can't remember who mine was. Which isn't a
Solihull.
good sign, because
Was it Solihull?
Yeah,
it might.
because
Yeah,
we
that rings
all
a bell.
figured that Leyton Orient would win the league.
You
and-
backed Salford, didn't you?
No, I didn't. I backed
Was it?
Sutton.
Oh, you did. You went for the left field shout.
I'll stick with Solihull Moors, even though they had that sort of knockback this weekend in the form of the draw. But just because they seem to be having one of those seasons with their cup run and everything like that, which sort of, I don't know, they just seem to have something extra about them this season. But definitely, I mean, wouldn't write off anyone, but particularly Filed because of how well they just seem to be performing going forward. So I'll stick with Solihull on that front, but yeah, definitely not ruling anyone out, because I know I'm just digging a hole for myself if I do.
Yeah, I think there's definitely something special going on in Solihull Moors this season. It's quite evident, like James said, with the cup run. But just to move on, I've got you guys to come with a player from any National League side who, if he was to move to a top 7, just go through the playoff places, which side would this suit best? Just help elevate them, maybe. What about sides not getting a good grip this season? But which player from any National League side would go to a top 7 side and improve it massively? Harvey.
I've made the selection of former West Ham youth, not a hooligan, but a youth player, and Birmingham City man Charlie Adams, and I pronounce it like that because it's spelled really weird.
Apparently he's a relative of mine.
Yeah, there are many people that are relatives to you.
Yeah, Che Adams, yeah.
You've got a long bloodline. Che Adams, Charlie Adams, a lot of C's, a lot of Birmingham.
Yeah.
But yeah, Charlie Adams is my selection for, I think it suits Salford best. A bit. Sorry about that. Just need to clear my throat. Got a bit of cold. But yeah, in midfield, I think he's doing well enough. He did great things for Lincoln on 2 loan spells. Only 28 appearances, but he was very well liked. Good player. Kilmarnock spent a bit of time there. Didn't again make too many appearances. Been played with a bit of injury worries, but he's still a very solid player, especially in the National League. Last season was at Dagenham and Redbridge, 21 appearances, and was snapped up by Barnet in the summer. And he has been a mainstay in their side all season. And I think they'd be a good option for Salford, because a bit more quick, because they're lacking goals at the minute, like, and
Yeah,
creating
as
proper
much as
chances.
Ben likes to big up Adam Rooney.
Yeah.
He seemed to went a bit dry recently, especially
But
since the turn of the new year.
even that might not be fully his fault. 'Cause if he's not getting the service,
Oh, of
then he
course.
can't score. Like the goal against Dover, it wasn't a well worked move and a creative thing. It was a shot from the halfway line.
It was pure shock and
Yeah,
brilliance.
it was try your luck and see what happens.
Yeah.
They're not creating the sufficient chances, and I feel a player like Adams can bring that to them. He's a very creative, very quick footed midfielder, and I always thought he had promise when he was a youth player at Birmingham. I played a couple of times. I thought he could be on for something, but he didn't really cut it, or Birmingham didn't see him that way. But he's a great impact player as well.
Mm-hmm.
Is what I find. Like, if he's not starting and maybe you're struggling, so say Salford 1-1 against Dover at 1-1, like, bring him on. And
Break in case of emergency.
and then it adds a bit of creativity, and it
Yeah.
changes the dynamic of the game. And he's really good at doing that. And I think it'd be a good midfielder, even just as a squad option for any top 7 side. But I think he'd suit Salford best.
Yeah, like, I'd definitely agree with that type of player Salford need, because we were talking about before we started today. That, like, I think Salford either need a bit more experience in midfield or, like, in defence, or they need that kind of player who can, like, unlock the doors for them where it's, like, quite a cagey game, or, like, the side's not really playing that well. They kind of need someone to string things together for them. So I think I'd agree if he's a great choice for Salford. James, moving on to you. I know it's been quite a frantic search for you, so
Indeed.
I'm quite interested to see who you've got here.
I think I've got some. I just want to make sure I'm not stealing yours again.
No.
George Elokobi?
No,
No, sound.
big choice.
Oh, George Alakobe. Forgot
he's-
about him.
Now I don't know. Do either of you lads know how much he's played for Leyton Orient this season? I don't know, but he's
I don't think that's
30.
the unit though.
He does sort of, well, he's defensive and
When he
yeah,
was
he's a
older,
defender.
God, he'd be terrifying.
He's
Even
ex.
the
He's
prime
been
Wolves at
he's
left back.
been at quite
Yeah,
a few.
When he, how is a man that shape playing as fullback?
I think he's playing centre back.
Oh, yeah,
He
he's-
just stretched
he's a
himself to
lefty.
left back. Just
I feel like he's
pure
the
size,
type
playing
of
both.
fullback. Like, if a tricky winger's against him, the tricky winger just goes straight into the advertising boards.
He's kind almost Kolasinac.
I
Comparison,
know. I
maybe.
signed him on a career mode once at George
Yeah,
Alakobe,
yeah, he's not quite class now.
and I loved it.
Of course, no one is Kolasinac, but
You've got a special place in my heart to say.
Nah, George Alakobe over
The
class.
Bosnian beauty.
Any day a week. George Alakobe's better.
Right.
Do love good George Alakobe.
well, this is a YouTube boxing match in the making, isn't it? But where's he been? He's been all over the place. I'll try and list the teams. He's been at Colchester, Chester, Wolves, Nottingham Forest, Bristol, Oldham, Braintree. Then it looks like he was a free agent for sort of about 6-8 months between about November 2016 and July 2017. Yeah, that's 8 months. That's not 6 months. And yeah, then he's been at Leyton Orient since. And I'd also, it sounds like Salford are having a nightmare of a season here, but they're not. I'd also maybe recommend him going to Salford just for exactly the same reasons. They look like they could maybe benefit from a bit of extra experience. Someone who's obviously got experience at the highest, well, not quite the highest level, but a very high level as well, with Wolves and Nottingham Forest. So
The fact that George Alakobe still plays football is absolutely thrilling.
and again, I don't even know how often he's been playing this season, but I suppose if he's not been playing very often, that's maybe even more of a reason for him to move. But you just get the sense he'd give a bit more sort of that frog's back backbone to a Salford team that at the moment seem to have, they come across the side who maybe have a bit of a soft centre at the moment, or just need another sort of shot in the arm. So yeah,
I've always seen George Alakobe as like one of them footballers. I'd like to have a drink with George Alakobe.
yeah.
I don't, because he'd probably drink under the table, wouldn't he? You know what I mean?
Oh, that's fine, but if you get yourself into any trouble,
Got
like,
threshold.
you'd
Oh,
like
very
someone
true.
like George Alakobe there with you.
You got me.
If you get into a trouble with a bouncer, no bouncer's going to make a George Alakobe.
You'll bounce then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
made my day, that. George Alakobe. God, still kicking. Go
He's
on, man.
someone who's up there. People like the Rock and Ainsley Harriott. He's definitely on a man crush list of mine. Definitely.
It's not imagine when people say like, "Oh, what influential figures would you want at a dinner party?" George Ellacobe.
First name on the list.
Can we make him the face of the podcast and not Adam Rooney?
Yeah,
I'm fed up with that ginger
definitely.
one. Nearly said a word I'm not allowed to.
I'm all for that.
But no, George Ellacobe is a much better face for this podcast. What a bloke, what a man.
New shrining.
Yeah, he's helped me on Football Manager last year. Like I had a struggle on Boreham Wood side, I kept bottling promotion, and he came in, changed the tide.
George Ellacobe, what a man.
Something else. Yeah, like
I'm so glad that he's still playing.
Yeah, same I am, to be fair. Yeah, but I didn't have a player plan, but James kind of put that on me.
I know, he's throwing it on.
I thought I'd kind of just come up with one. A boring choice and all, because he's the top goal scorer at the moment in the league, but it'll be for Bon from Leighton Orient to go to Solihull Moors. I feel like Solihull Moors, although they're obviously playing well, scoring goals, they're a side which we've highlighted before, been defending well this season, and I feel like if they had that like extremely good goal scorer at this level, they're a side which would be a huge standout team in this division.
I think the addition of Nathan Blissett from Macclesfield onwards helping him a bit. He's bagged a few in the last couple of games, but I feel like if they'd have made that signing earlier in the season, or if they had someone like Bon,
it could have been a different story at the top.
It could have been a different story, especially it's a good shout.
Yeah, but I think it's more of an obvious shout. It hasn't really got much
it's obvious,
substance behind it. Just quickly, I don't know if you was prepared for this. It was on the plan, but I don't know if you have prepared for this. I want one side from both the National League North and South who you think will go up and join the National League next year, Harvey.
I'm going to start with the North because it is the better of the two. Sorry, James. The North okay. Always prevails.
Cam would agree on that.
Oh yes, but I'm not as... Yeah, do you know about this? James was called a dirty southerner on Tuesday night, and we were all so offended.
It's called Dirty Southerner, who by?
Cameron from the football team, and you cannot insult James in front of us and get away with it.
No.
It's not on.
I'm not going to lie. I needed bringing back down to earth.
No, James, no. Well, his behaviour was disgusting, and he's been dealt with accordingly.
He will be happy with a name drop on the podcast. I'm not going to lie. So
to let him know.
Disgusting behaviour, Cam. Anyway, my team is spending more time.
Yes.
Purely for the fact that they are red hot at the minute. They cannot stop winning. And they're currently third, but have 2 games in hand on second and a game in hand on top, which are Stockport and Chorley respectively. 4 points off of both of them. Their winning run has been remarkable the last few weeks. They've won the joint. They've lost the joint least games in the division, which is always good. They've had a bit of a leaky defence, but not too much. But the goals definitely make up for it. Like they beat Alfreton 7-1 like a couple of months ago. It's unreal how they go about the football. And I think it'd be a great addition to see such a free-flowing side like that in the National League. And in terms of the South, in terms of the South, I'm going to go with a side that dropped out of the league last season.
Right.
Well, Ben Robinson wouldn't know that because he can't prepare a quiz properly and he can't look at Wikipedia and read. Woking, who did drop out of the league last season.
There was huge drama last week.
I'm still raging.
I'm hoping my quiz has got no flaws in it. I doubt it does.
Absolutely seething. But Woking did drop out last season, and I think they've got more than the capabilities to come. I think it was quite a shock that they went down.
Yeah.
Because they talented squad. Like the season before, they were making a playoff push.
Happens though. You see teams one season they're close to the top of the table. The next season
but it is a very obvious shout, the top of the table. But yeah, I don't see anyone else winning that. Like Torquay doing all right, but it's working for me.
James, moving on to you. A team from the north and south who you'd think would get promoted?
I'm probably going to go down relatively similar lines. I'll go for the north. I'll probably go. You go Spennymoor. I'll probably go Chorley just to sort of almost play safe and go for the team who are currently top. They
top for a reason, obviously.
Indeed, they have lost. Looking at it, 2 of their last 3 matches, I think.
Yeah, 2 of the last 3.
I think prior to that, their form was quite good. So that obviously puts a bit of a downer on it. But they have got a game in hand on Stockport, who are in second. But Spennymoor have 2 games in hand on them, or in hand on Stockport. So I'm going to go Chorley, but obviously recent form does put a bit of a downer on it. And South, I'm going to go Woking as well, just because of their form. It looks, I believe they've won their last 3 against East Thurrock United, Weston-super-Mare and Hemel Hempstead, all at home, mind you. So that obviously sort of plays into it.
You want to make your ground a fortress, don't you?
Yes, yeah, that's very true. And I mean, good home form is always a positive sign, because if you can, people always say, if you can win your home matches, then you can afford to be pretty sort of bog standard away, and you'll probably still have a pretty solid push at promotion quite often. So I'm going to go Woking just because of their recent form, and yeah, obviously they're a recent occupant of the higher division as well.
I'd like. There's one side that I'd like to see go up from the north, and that's Chester.
Right.
And purely because I want to. And for that, if they went up, Wrexham would have to not go up, because I want to see that magic. It's such a heated rivalry, and I think the National League misses.
I'm quite
that
unaware of
sometimes.
that. Could you just give me a quick 20-second?
It's an England
Blast.
and Wales thing,
Right.
because Chester are very, very close to the Welsh border, and yeah, it's just a bit of a nation rivalry, a bit of a border rivalry, and I am not sure if you're aware of the vlog, the Wrexham and Chester vlog.
Right.
There's I can't remember his name, and I can't play it on the podcast because there are expletives. But just search in Wrexham versus Chester vlog on YouTube, and you'll find what I mean. It's the best half an hour of your life.
That's half an hour of life.
It's amazing.
I got to watch a story.
It's where the chant "Scotty's in a box" comes from, and I'm not going to tell any more because it's a disgusting chant, but it's still.
I suppose at least it's the
hilarious.
imagination for me.
It's that sounds engaging, if nothing else.
It's the video is unreal. The bloke, he gives abuse to the Chester fans and apologises to the police for raising his hand. Oh, just watch it. It's
Beautiful.
amazing. It's unreal. I'll show it you after the podcast.
Right, boys, now is it? It's time for everyone's favourite time of the week, because we've been quite deprived from Mr. Farrington recently. Quiz. Non-league quiz.
I know he's had 2 weeks without it.
Yeah, 2 weeks without it.
Keeps us on his toes, and it's in Germany now.
He's living it up.
He's on the booze in Germany. I want
Yeah.
to be on the booze in Germany.
Boys, I want a noise from you. Signature noise that you're going to buzz in with. Some of these questions, I've dropped answers throughout.
See, I always try and think of a different
Well, actually, I say
Partridge
something.
quote every week.
It's only the first question that I've dropped the answer. The rest of them's going to come off good knowledge, I guess.
That's not my noise. I'm
Harvey
just dying
signature
in the
noise is the
background.
cough.
I'm just dying in the background.
The frog's spreading.
Yeah. I'm just gonna go with Tonk. Don't know why. That's what I'm going with.
I am gonna go. Blimey, this is tough. I'll just say. I'll go LA again. I think I knew on
Consistency
next
is key.
Indeed.
It's time to play Who Wants to Be. Actually, no, sorry, it's a different show. Perfect quiz. Question 1, right? And I'd imagine this might be a quick buzz in, so get your noises on the tip of your tongue, because I reckon it's going to be a quick answer. Which team ruined my acca at the weekend?
Tonk. Solihull Moors.
Correct, that's 1 point to you. Nice and snappy. They're a horrible team. Promoted up the Sutton.
Birmingham, what do you expect?
Yeah,
They have gone down in your estimation.
they have massively gone down. Number 2. Scott Border's played for 2 teams this year, Gateshead and Chesterfield. But how many goals has he got in the league?
LA.
Go on.
I'll guess at 16.
No.
Can I steal?
Yeah, you can.
13.
No. It's up to debate now. If both of you want to buzz in, you can steal it. I'll let you have 2 more guesses each.
2 more each.
I'll say 20.
No.
11.
No.
That
Final
suggests it's close though.
Final one.
I'll say 12.
Correct. It's
I,
a 1-1. Harvey was either side of it, both guesses.
Mm.
Shameful for him.
I literally only earned that out of Harvey's guesses, and then
Lay the groundwork, it's fine.
And moving on, 3/5 of the quiz are already getting through. Which side in this division has the most draws this season?
Tonk. Dagenham, Redbridge and Chesterfield.
Close your eyes for a second, 'cause I did have one team, but I think you're right. I'm not gonna
I
get
actually
back.
completely blanked on that question. What was that question?
Which side
Which team has the most draws?
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Both have 15.
Correct. Both have 15. Correct. I only put Dagenham Red, but it's because I'm blind. It could have been another drama, but obviously being a joint answer, I'll give it to you. 2-1. Now I'll get this league table. Just don't even look. Don't you dare look. It's up there actually. No, it's different league. Which side has taken the most L's this season?
Tonk.
Go on.
Braintree.
Incorrect.
Ooh.
James, can you steal it?
I'll go. Should I do the noise? Or
No, it's alright.
Dover.
Incorrect.
Maidstone.
Oh,
Correct. Harvey
okay.
steals it there. Is that 3-1 to you, isn't it?
3-1, indeed.
He has secured the win, but James isn't loser because we all know that the biggest loser this week is Ben Robinson. But a final question, just for a bit of pride, James. It's good that you've got a point this week, by the way. I should add.
Yeah, he's got himself on the board.
I'm
At long
creeping up.
last, biggest drought.
Indeed.
Final question: which 2 sides have won 19 games this year in the league?
Ooh. LA.
Go on. Which 2 sides? I want both of them here.
I'll go Wrexham.
Correct.
Incorrect.
No.
Correct.
No, it's correct.
And Leyton Orient.
Incorrect. Harvey, can you steal this for a bit of pride?
Um,
A bit of a clinical edge.
Salford.
Incorrect. James, can you grasp this by the cajones?
Your favourite team, Solihull Moors?
Yeah, it is actually. James steals that question. Very so that's the end of the quiz. Harvey won that. Just looking forward to the weekend, lads. What are you doing, Harvey?
Well, it is our very own Benjamin's birthday. Well, it was Benjamin's birthday yesterday, so
Yeah.
happy birthday, happy belated birthday to Ben,
Yes.
the little
birthday.
no-show. But we're going out in the Toon, I believe they say up here.
Yeah.
On Saturday. I got a disgusting look off Jake there. His face creased when I said that. Yeah, we're going out in Newcastle for his birthday. Going to meet some of his friends from home, who will hopefully embarrass him no end.
Yeah.
Which I will be sure to do. Yeah, should be good. Gonna rip up Pop World. I'm gonna show him my moves. I'm gonna recite some ABBA.
Oh well.
It's gonna be a top quality evening. And Sunday I will be lying in bed regretting all the choices I have
Yeah.
made.
that tends to be a normal habit of events that play out.
Can't wait.
James.
I am I'm gutted to be missing Ben's birthday do first of all, but that's I do have a decent excuse because it was my brother's 18th birthday on Monday, so I don't know whether he'll appreciate this shout out, but I'm going to do it anyway. So
Happy birthday, James's brother.
happy belated birthday to Rowan for Monday, and I believe he was relatively responsible, and yeah, so we've got some family coming over for the weekend to do birthday stuff, and yes, so I'll be going back there, train Friday night down to Evesham, or not direct to Evesham but Cheltenham, and then coming back on the Sunday evening after hopefully thoroughly enjoying that low-key Northwest derby on Sunday, Manchester United, Liverpool. So hopefully the Reds can get a positive result out of that. So yeah, so it's a weekend of bit of travelling and sort of birthday stuff in between.
Both very good plans for weekends. I would love to be there for Ben, but I'm a working man. But that's enough of that because I've waffled on too much about Sainsbury's in my life.
Sainsbury's.
Yeah, but that wraps up for this edition of the Non-League Podcast, episode 7. Been quite a hanging episode, as we've mentioned at the start. Hopefully it hangs high views this episode. Terrible pun, I know. Harvey's giving me death stares. I'm sorry.
I've worked through the pain.
Yeah.
I'm committed.
Yeah, I have to.
Unlike Ben.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I guess all we can say is goodbye, and 681 burpees a day keeps the belly fat away.